Hi, welcome to Pennsylvania Newsmakers, and as always, thanks for watching. Well, we keep our promises on Pennsylvania Newsmakers. We continue with our interviews with candidates for governor and the United States Senate. And then Mike Love is in the house to talk about what else for Mike Love? Energy. All that following these words.
This is Pennsylvania Newsmakers, a fast-paced, unrehearsed weekly discussion with and about the leaders who shape your world. And now, here's your host, Terry Madonna.
Hi, welcome back to the program. Well, in the studio and sitting across from me is Jim Gerlach. He's currently the congressman from the 6th Congressional District. When this program started, Jim Gerlach was State Senator Jim Gerlach, and you were on this program a good bit. We had a lot of fun talking about different state issues.
Yeah, we talked budget, tax reform, all kinds of stuff.
What else? All right, let's get to the heart of it. You're a candidate for governor. And before we get into the issue, here's what I don't understand. You had two tough races for Congress. The last time in the midst of the Obama big victory in your district, you won by 4 points.
Yeah.
The district is getting safer. You're more comfortable.
Yeah.
Why are you leaving it after you're getting it all settled down?
Well, it's been a great honor to represent this district over the years, and before that in the state legislature for 12 years. But I'm going to be in legislative work 20 years next year, and I want to take this experience at both the state level and the federal level and really help fix a very badly broken state government. And I think I have some ideas and some experience on how to do that, and so that's what I've decided to do.
All right, just on the record, Republican candidate for governor. I had to bring in because he was a state senator, knows a lot about state politics, and certainly now in Congress. All right, Jim, let's go to, look, Pennsylvania state government had some rough times here. 101 days to get a budget through.
Longest in the nation.
This big pay hike controversy in July of '05, as you know, which roiled the voters of our state. What would Jim, give me three or four of the things that a Jim Gerlach gubernatorial administration would be like?
Well, we have to focus on job creation. We're in a recession, and Pennsylvania historically has lagged in job growth over the years for a number of different reasons, including the fact we still have a very onerous business tax climate in Pennsylvania. And we've got to, take this debate we've been having for decades and really resolve the fact that we have to lower our business taxes to become more competitive. We also have to improve our transportation infrastructure and make it competitive for the 21st century. And we have a wonderful opportunity with the Marcellus Shale natural gas reserves here in Pennsylvania to turn that into a hugely prosperous economy for us through job creation if we get the right tax policy, regulatory policy, and environmental policy in place. And then we have to also just turn our attention basically to the government process itself. This budget process is a mess. We have to, I believe, go to two-year budgeting in Pennsylvania. We have to employ what's called results-based budgeting. You don't get a dime next year until you've proven you use the dollars effectively in the prior appropriation cycle. And I think we overall have to put a cap on the growth of state spending so that we get a better handle on using dollars in a cost-effective way without breaking the bank when we do have revenues coming in a good time. So we have to protect the taxpayers with lower taxes, with a cap on the growth of state spending, focus on job creation, and open up this process in Pennsylvania to more accountable government.
Now, look, governors are governors. They head the executive branch. They don't head the legislative branch, as you know, and there's been lots of conversations about meaningful reform in the legislative process. You know, lobbyist reform, further stuff with campaign finance, ethics. And everybody for governor seems to run against what I call the culture in Harrisburg. What is it that Jim Gerlach, what would you do to your legislative colleagues? How bold would you be to take them on to change some of the way they do business?
Well, you know, after almost 20 years in this business, even though I've been out of Harrisburg for 8 years, I know a lot of the good people that are working in the Pennsylvania legislature, and there's a good number of good people that work there.
You're right about that.
And I found that by and large, regardless of whether you're Republican or Democrat, you really want to try to get some common sense solutions accomplished. And so I think I would have the ability from an interpersonal relationship to work well with a number of both leaders and rank and file members on both sides of the aisle in the General Assembly to accomplish things we've talked about in Harrisburg for decades and never seem to get accomplished. I think I have an opportunity to really work with them, and I also think the governor needs to be more proactive in getting out around Pennsylvania and talking about his agenda for the future and engaging our citizens, engaging our businesses, engaging those that work every single day to make life better for themselves and their families, engaging with them to come up again with a common sense plan to move Pennsylvania forward. And I think by working harder, by being out around Pennsylvania and developing that consensus and working more closely with legislators, regardless of party,
right,
to get that accomplished, I think I can bring some success there.
But do you think it's the governor's job sort of to tell the legislature, well, you know, the legislature's too big, you know, we'll cut you down 30 or 40%, you make too much money, these campaign finance laws are too loose, you can give any amount of money anytime and virtually use it for anything you want. There's no lobbyist ban on gifts like you have in Congress. I think it's $50. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's less, I think.
It's less, yeah, whatever it is, gifts. I mean, do you think the governor ought to lead the way on that? Or, you know, that once you get into that, then your big agenda...
Yeah.
You know,
well,
the big
that is the job. The governor's job is to be a leader and to set priorities and to then build consensus both within the legislative process as well as around the Commonwealth to accomplish those goals and objectives. So that is in essence what the job is, to be a leader. And how you then lead is very important in whether you're going to accomplish those goals and objectives. And I think that's where it's important to have a good ability to work personally with folks, understand where they're coming from, work across party lines. Because I think, Terry, at the end of the day, most people, regardless of their party affiliation, just want legislators to go to Harrisburg and say, look, let's come up with a common sense solution that solves the problem. And that's what's been lacking for a long time.
All right, we're talking with Jim Gerlach. He's the current congressman from the 6th Congressional District in Pennsylvania. He's running for governor for the Republican nomination. We'll be back with Jim following these words.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is sponsored by Citizens to Protect PA Jobs. When businesses add jobs, people prosper. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by PAConstructionJobs.com. For more information about rewarding careers in the highway construction industry, visit PAConstructionJobs.com. And by the Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association. Business in Pennsylvania is our business.
Hi, welcome back. My guest is Jim Gerlach. As I said a moment ago, he's a candidate for governor. He's also a member of Congress, giving up his seat. We won't even get into that. You can come back sometime. We can chat about that. All right, look, you're in a tough race. Jim Gerlach has been an underdog so many times. I remember these congressional races you had. Man, what a tough district. You won narrowly, but you won sometimes against big odds. Now you got another big odd. You're running against the Attorney General. What's your strategy for kind of dealing with that?
Well, what we do every election cycle, we just go out and talk to voters. We offer our ideas and our experiences and what we think is the right common sense agenda for the future. And we end up doing very well with not only Republican voters, but also Democrats and independents. And I think next year, as Republicans, we need to put forward a candidate that has the ability to get that crossover vote, because Republicans are down 1.2 million in registration in Pennsylvania right now. And so if a Republican candidate for governor is going to be successful, he's going to have to be able to have a common sense agenda that attracts votes from all parties. And I think I have that kind of profile and been successful with doing that. Well, you
represented certainly one of the tougher districts, not just in the state but in the country, because you have some of the wealthiest portions of your district are, what can I say, among the wealthiest in the country. Yeah. And then you have, Amish farmland, as you point out, and cities, a bunch of small cities and boroughs. But your party has moved increasingly to the right. I mean, just as the Democrats have moved increasingly. Has that given you any special pause about?
No. I keep using that term common sense, and I probably overuse it, but in a way I'm not, because that's really bottom line what I think my success electorally in my district, even though it's a Democrat district, has been founded upon. And I think that's what's going to be the basis for winning next year, is coming up with common sense solutions that work for families and communities, regardless of whether I'm a Republican or you're a Democrat or you're an independent. And it's that kind of approach, I think, is what's going to create excitement among voters and generate support, because they're not going to look at you whether you're a Republican or Democrat. They want to know who's going to solve their problems.
Let me ask you quickly. Governors are going to be, all gubernatorial candidates are going to, you're running in a recessionary environment, programmatic cuts and or tax hikes. I mean, everybody knows that. That's exactly what the legislature. What's your position on tax hikes?
Well, we're not opposed to any tax hikes. I don't know how we can even talk about that in the current times that we're in economically. But just look at some of the Auditor General reports in the last year. Look at some other things that have come out from other sources about the continuing waste and fraud in our state government. A 14% error rate in Medicaid eligibility, which extrapolated across the system is about $400 to $500 million in value. Or the Department of Revenue that says there's over $1 billion of uncollected taxes out there that are collectible. Right. Now, when you have those examples of inefficiency or lack of productivity or error, I don't see how you can go back to an individual taxpayer or a business person and say we want more of your money. We've got to have a top-down, bottom-up audit of all agencies, departments, and boards and commissions of state government first to really see where the waste and inefficiency is. And I think that's going to demonstrate or expose a lot of problems that exist today that we need to correct before anybody raises the issue of tax increases.
Okay, on the policy side, what about, we've had these increases in the education budget. Some have liked it, some haven't. Some argue it's essential for the future. Some say, yeah, but we can't afford it right now. Education, economic development, I mean, you can go across a range of possible programs. Every governor has 2 or 3 things they really want to do. You know what I'm talking. You were in the Senate. What are the 2 or 3 things that you get in office and you say, okay, I want to go there. I want to do this?
Job creation. In other words, fixing our business tax climate to make sure it supports job creation. And transportation infrastructure that's second to none across the entire country that will, again, produce more jobs and more economic competitiveness. And developing that energy industry that can really produce a lot of great paying jobs, and that's the Marcellus Shale, natural gas reserves.
You think this can all be done without any taxes and is the best solution for the state?
Well, certainly those are the directions we need to go if we're going to create the jobs that we need to. And I would first start with a total audit of state government to see where we are budgetarily. And I would institute what's called results-based budgeting, where you don't get a dime in the next fiscal year if you haven't first proven that you met the goals and objectives of that agency in the prior fiscal year. We have to put those kinds of changes and reforms in place first, see where we are then with our dollars, and then we'll make decisions in the future about where we go.
All right, there you have it. Jim Gerlach, Congressman running for the Republican nomination. Good luck in the campaign. You're always welcome on this program, as you know. All right, Mike Love is here. We're going to talk energy. What else can you do in this environment? He's going to give us a quick energy update following these words.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by Pennsylvania Credit Union Association. Pennsylvania Credit Unions, where people are worth more than money. To find a credit union that is right for you, check out ibelong.org. And by the Energy Association of Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania's energy information source. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by the State System of Higher Education. 14 state-owned universities. The state system is the largest provider of higher education in Pennsylvania. And by the Hospital and Health System Association of Pennsylvania, working towards a healthy Pennsylvania.
Hi, welcome back to the program. Joining me, as often is the case, is Michael Love. He's the president of the Pennsylvania the Energy Association of Pennsylvania. I'll get that right. Michael, welcome as always.
It's good to be here, Terry. Thank you.
All right, look, one of the big topics that we've got to talk about is Marcellus Shale. You know, it's this huge geological formation out of which natural gas comes, and other states have been going after the natural gas in that formation for some time. Pennsylvania is now about to do it in a big way. Some state lands have been opened up for the leasing of those properties, I'll put it that way. Give us a quick update about, first of all, why is Marcellus Shale important to Pennsylvania?
Well, it's important to Pennsylvania because we, like most states in the Union, have our primary heating source, natural gas. In Pittsburgh, nearly 88% of the residents of Pittsburgh have natural gas as their heating source. In Philadelphia, it's about 82%. Statewide, it's 52%. That's why it's important to us. And we saw what happened after Katrina and Rita back in 2005, is all of a sudden natural gas bills went up precipitously.
Oh, yeah.
And that happened because we couldn't get the gas from the Gulf. and people charged an arm and a leg to get the gas up here. Now, we can avoid that by using natural gas right here in our state. So we will not have to be worried about hurricanes in the Gulf spiking up our energy prices. Rather, we can have the jobs and the gas and save costs.
Now,
when
the legislature was debating the opening up more lands for Marcellus Shale for natural gas, the debate was not so much whether they would do it or not, but the debate was whether it should be taxed and how much, and whether it should be taxed now or later. Where does that situation stand?
Well, the legislature, I think, wisely chose not to tax. Again, let's remember something, that our legislature loves to tax energy. We're the only state in the union that taxes for commercial customers a gross receipts tax and a sales tax on their electricity. No other state does that. The recent budget compromise, where they chose to roll back the capital stock and franchise tax.
Right.
Do you know who is the primary payer of the capital stock and franchise tax?
You're going to tell me energy companies.
I'm going to tell you energy ratepayers.
Oh, ratepayers. That means people like me.
Electric, gas, and water. They upped the electric, gas, and water rates of every person in this state. And that was not discussed, if you remember, at all.
Yeah, I don't remember hearing that.
You didn't hear that at all.
No, not at all.
But that's what happened. And so, again, when you say, I'm going to tax a product, you're talking about ultimately taxing
the consumer. Yeah.
So let's be honest about what we're trying to do or not do.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the effect of this for the moment. Okay, we got this. How much natural gas can reasonably be expected to get produced out of our state? Let's say in the next 5 years, knowing that natural gas prices are not real high, and that may discourage some. Cut me off if I'm wrong.
No. It's true that
finish that thought.
Higher prices will lead to more drilling activity. No question about that. But we already have maybe 300, 400 wells going statewide on public land and on private land. And this natural gas find is probably, from what we know now, the largest find in this country and maybe this world. That's how big this is. And if we use it right, if we do like other states do, in terms, if we're really concerned about carbon, if we're really concerned about addressing issues, is that natural gas in Oklahoma, Utah, they've gone over in a big way to natural gas vehicles, which cost people half of what gasoline vehicles cost them.
All right, we're going to break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the federal legislation, cap and trade, the energy bill. It passed the House. It's in the Senate. What will happen? Michael will give us a little update on that after these words.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by Highmark Blue Shield, changing the way health plans work for business with a variety of plan options for employers and more choices for employees. Information is available at highmark.com. Have a greater hand in your company's health. And by the Pennsylvania Healthcare Association, the future of long-term care. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by Penn Future, where we believe that every environmental victory grows the economy. And by the Pennsylvania Cyber Charter School, bringing educational innovation and freedom to the children of Pennsylvania.
Hi, welcome back to the program. We're talking with Mike Love from the Energy Association of Pennsylvania. We're getting a little quick energy update. All right, cap and trade, this big energy bill, it's very complicated. It got through the House. It's in the Senate. It's debatable whether it can get by the Senate. What is in there that Pennsylvanians need to either like or not like?
Well, again, there are, as you said, many provisions dealing in that bill. But let's talk about it. What that bill is trying to do, and what many bills that are being offered in the House and Senate are trying to do, is what are we going to do about carbon? What are we going to do about our carbon footprint? And what separates the bills is some bills, such as the one that passed the House, are very dictatorial about what types of ways we're going to go about changing our carbon footprint, and others are more along the line is we want to set goals, we want to try anything that will deal with carbon. Now, from an industry standpoint, I think where most people come down is at some point in time we have to decide what we want to do or not do with carbon. Are we going to stick with gasoline-powered vehicles, or are we going to finally start realizing the value of natural gas vehicles and electric vehicles, which have a lot less carbon footprint, but which we have not built the infrastructure for? And unfortunately, what happens down in Congress is every time they try to pass energy, they try to take limited knowledge of what they know about technology and try to apply it to the future. And that's scary in some ways because some of them get it right and some get it wrong.
And your point would be that technology being what it is, a year from now may be vastly different from what we have at the moment, and so trying to legislate for the future technologically is a mistake because of the unanticipated and unforeseen consequences?
What I'm saying is we definitely have to address carbon.
Okay.
But try not to dictate the ways to get there.
That's good.
Here an example, and I'm dating myself.
What is this thing
this
you're
is
showing?
This is an 8-track tape. Now, back when I was a kid, which was a long time ago, an 8-track tape was the new technology to take the place of records that spun on a phonograph. Right. Now, we're trying at times to be an 8-track mentality, to say, we know this technology, let's put that in because that's better than the record. Well, it is. But then came along CDs.
Who even has CDs?
Who has CDs? Another technology. So we need to stop being energy 8-trackers and energy CDers.
Yeah, I get
because
your point.
now most people, are starting to get their music not from DVDs, but from their phones.
Yeah, on the politics of the big energy bill, we've got two senators now, both Democrats, Senator Casey and Senator Specter, who represent a huge energy-producing state. What they do may be critical to the passage of anything in the Senate. They're probably as two important senators as you could find. Would you agree with that?
I would agree that they have significant influence and they will help shape this policy.
Yeah,
yes.
And they have to be mindful of the fact that we're a big energy-producing state as we end this program. Is that right?
We're a big energy-producing state, but we're soon becoming a big energy conservation state as well.
Okay. So your point, and we'll end with this, is we gotta reduce carbon, have energy, change the way we produce energy. We have to do it smartly without wrecking the economy and knowing that we're going to have a lot of green. Yes?
Yes.
All right. Thanks, Mike Love. We'll see you next week for another edition. Pennsylvania Newsmakers, and as always, stay well.